presented by Dano Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sun Belt Syndicate. As always, I am Dominic Corsetto, and actually, I didn't tell TJ to do this, but I changed my below name header, banner, whatever you want to call that, to our Twitter feed because there's a lot of action as far as signing day is concerned today. TJ, if you want to jump in there and change it to either your personal Twitter feed or your Thick Thighs and Large Fries, man, you're more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, we can just tell the good people where they can find you otherwise.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'm also never on Twitter or X or whatever it is. Like, I have it, but I don't think I've been on Twitter in it's probably safe to say at least a solid year.
Dang.
Was the last time I've been on Twitter. I just don't get on it. I don't know why, but
we have to survive what we do now.
Well, now I do, but I'm saying previous to this show, I didn't even use Twitter.
Yeah,
I didn't use it.
Well, I followed a lot of kids who signed or committed, I guess officially signed today with Sunbelt schools. So hopefully we got some new viewers tonight while we're checking this out. Tara Slimy's saying, "Let's go." Yeah,
that's my cousin.
Nice. Where's he at?
He's in Atlanta. He's from my hometown in Beaufort, North Carolina, but living in Atlanta now.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. And guess who's back?
What's up, Artie Cat?
Artie Cat. Hello, Dominic and TJ. The Grinch is stealing the Sunbelt Bowl joy. Will there be joy in Whoville?
Man, listen, I am depressed.
Yeah.
Well, no, here's the thing. Neither of us picked Southern, right? I don't know. I can't remember. I know I didn't pick ODU, but I don't think you did too because of Western Kentucky's air raid. Had it been a different team and the way that they run the ball, or the way that they play the run, that my mindset would have changed. But the way that but I will say the way Old Dominion jumped out, I had hope. And super defeated. I know we'll get into it, but super defeated by that. Happy about Appalachian State, obviously. Terrible conditions, but it happens. You run the ball, clock control. What was it? 13 fumbles? That's insane.
Yes.
That's nuts.
I think it was 13 turnovers because Joey had that first pass interception, and then there was 12 fumbles. So 13 turnovers total, 12 fumbles. I think 12 fumbles was like a new record or something like that.
Yeah, that was – well, I think it was 12 fumbles, not all of them were turnovers. You know what I mean?
I guess you're right. That's
what I mean? I think it was like 7 or 8 turnovers, which is still – again, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's like
every other day. On the broadcast, 1964, there was a bowl game played in the snow between I can't remember. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend I remember the teams, but yeah, that one had 17 interceptions or fumbles, or combination of 17 of them. So we didn't quite get there, but we were pretty close.
Yeah, I'd say so. 13 is a lot.
Yeah, I think it was one of the ugliest football games I've ever seen, and I'm still, very interested in seeing how it turned out. And I agree with everyone because, TJ, tell me this. We've watched NFL games, and we've watched NFL games in rain and sleet and snow, and the camera never seems to get, clogged up. But they couldn't clear the cameras of raindrops at all. I
didn't understand that the whole time I'm watching, You don't have a guy with just a towel to just wipe the lens? It takes 2 seconds to just wipe a lens, bro.
Right, and I realized, they're going to have to continue doing it, but, it's got to be better than, trying to they continue to go to cameras that continue to have drops on it. And
Or here's an idea, put a camera out there that has, a hood on it.
Yeah.
But maybe we don't get that. I don't know. The budget must be slim. That's all I'm saying.
It must have been slim. Did you see what they did have? It looked like they had a poncho wrapped up around this thing.
Yeah, it did not. It didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. ESPN, they did. The viewership deserved better. First of all, secondarily, ESPN. Come on, guys, get it together. Get your act together. It was
like an ESPN Plus broadcast on ABC. So
like an ESPN Classic game is what it looked like.
Yeah. And Artie Cat says 2 big games in a row for App State also. Yeah, 2 big games in very similar conditions. Or 2 rain games is what he meant instead of big games. Well, they were both big games too, but they were also rain games. So definitely crew in that regard. We are brought to you by, before I forget to say this any further, the Dogs Media Network, who have their website, the College Football Dogs. And we also have, oh, you know what? I didn't put the overlay on. Silly me. Let's put up our promo code you can use for Dano's Seasoning. It's brought up. Now it's really catching people's eye.
Yeah, now it's for real. Now we really mean it. Go check it out.
You know what? I've been using the green one. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's just the original, I guess, is the green one. Like anything that's got like veggies and chicken, which is what I had a couple times this past week, you sprinkle that on, it's like Thanksgiving dinner all over again.
Yeah, it's like little herb, little rosemary. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So if you like it, I like the spicy ones best. But if you don't like the spice or you just want to try something different, the original recipe is phenomenal. So definitely check out Dano's. Use the promo code below at checkout. Help out your dogs, right? Hopefully we can get into that. We've got Preston Adams jumping on, saying hello from Twitter. I think our
What's
first
up,
Twitter.
Preston?
TJ, I don't know if you know this. When we first started doing all these shows, Twitter would only allow you to comment if you were a verified user, which meant you were paying for Twitter. So luckily, for whatever reason, Elon has figured out that nobody's going to be paying him money to have a Twitter account or X account or whatever you call it. But he's also realized that we don't need to hold people to these standards because nobody was really interacting because you had to pay to comment on things. It was just kind of
and also no one else is doing it. And I think it got real when LeBron was like, "No, I'm not paying for the verified."
Yeah. I want the blue check mark real bad, but I ain't paying for it. So
yeah, I'm good. I'm good on the check mark.
It ain't happening.
I know I'm an actual person, so there's that.
Yeah, exactly. Just a quick shout out to Preston. We ran into each other on an X or Twitter. Big JMU fan, writes some of his own articles. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk him into jumping into College Football Dogs, at least at this time, but he does phenomenal work. He does great write-ups on JMU. I believe he's even talking about basketball. He's always active on Twitter. If he's still on here, he can throw out his Twitter handle. Meet the Prez, P-R-E-S, and then I think he's got some numbers at the end. But a phenomenal follow, especially if you're trying to keep up with JMU athletics. How do I know I interact? I don't know. But we're showing your stuff, so hopefully you're seeing that as you're watching over here, Preston.
I hope so.
You're on the show, man. You're welcome.
You're here, buddy. Yeah, whoever's seeing us is seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Oh, yeah, there he goes. He says yes with the purple heart for the James Madison Dukes. Awesome. Big-time Dukes fan there, which is great. Again, good guy, good follow on there. Well, let's not delay the people any further, TJ. Let's give them what they came to see, which is your breakdowns.
Let's go!
All right. So what we did is we went and grabbed one clip from each game, and we're just going to let TJ flow with it as much or as little as he wants to before we get into talking about more specifics of the game. But we'll find hopefully some fun stuff here. Actually, I'm going to switch this first clip up. We're going to start with last night's game between Marshall and UTSA in the Scooters Coffee. This is the longest name ever. Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
These bowl names, bro, like it's getting out of control.
It is. And like, I've never heard of Scooters Coffee. So I'll say this, phenomenal job, because now I'm thinking of Scooters Coffee. They did have some commercials where their drinks look pretty good. So,
and they also had a commercial where like you could go through a Scooters Coffee drive-thru, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a Scooters Coffee before? I don't know if it's like
even heard of a Scooters Coffee. I got a lot of Scooters in my garage. They don't make coffee.
There you go. Yeah. I've never heard of Scooters Coffee, so they're doing something right by I wasn't even sharing the I'm over here talking about this and y'all aren't even seeing it. You're seeing the old clip. But anyways, we'll get into this one now. This is Ali with the ball, so I think most of you figure what's going to happen, but we'll run through again one time, real time, and then we'll slow it down and TJ can expand on what he's going to talk to you guys about here.
Yeah. So what you're going to see, obviously, just so it's awesome because you'll see the tight end block down, right, as a motion across. But then what you don't see and what the, I guess, non-football eye doesn't see is the kick out block by 68. I think he's a guard, right guard, coming all the way across the formation. And This is a stroll in the end zone. If you're a running back or any kind of back out of the backfield, even if you're running reverse, whatever, when you see this, it's almost like too good to be true. Because watch 68. Keep your eyes on him. Watch this kick out block. I mean, that's just Jeff Saturday's pancakes right there. I mean, and it's easy, and you're off to the races. So, and they're not going to catch Ali anyway. So, I mean, great call, great play design, excellent kick out block. And two, one of the unsung heroes, like I said, going across motion was that tight end with that down block on the defensive end. At first, I thought he was going to go up to the linebacker, but he saved the linebacker because there's actually two pulling players. So both guards pull. And then one climbs up to the linebacker. I think 70 was supposed to and got held up. But 68 kick out block, I mean, that sprung the play. And he was off to the races. So, I mean, this was easy money. It doesn't get any prettier and greener than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's get to there's a question here or something to say here. With a lack of parity worse than it's ever been, going to the transfer portal help or hurt group of 5 teams? I see it as a double-edged sword. On one hand, best players will jump after the portal to join a G5 program, whereas there are also P5 players who will jump into the portal going to a group of 5, as well as FCS transfers too. Mike, that is a great question. I definitely want TJ to expand on that more so than myself, although I have thoughts on that too. Preston saying ridiculous, probably with Ali's speed or the way that play went there.
Yeah.
And then Artie's telling me that what we already caught on to, luckily, is that I was on the Myrtle Beach Bowl instead of the Scooters, Coffee, Frisco, Texas Bowl there.
Yeah.
John Gaylord saying excellent kick out in recognition by the running back.
So John Gaylord he's going to be shouting out the O-line a lot. He was my high school coach.
Nice.
He coached offensive line for us in high school, and we almost won the state championship. And his offensive line was a unit. You understand me? At quarterback, I had 2,214 rushing yards, 2,214 rushing yards as a quarterback. So his offensive line did work. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and just so everyone
offensive line play.
so everyone is aware, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, TJ. TJ was the 5th leading rusher in the entire state as a quarterback, not a running back. As a quarterback, 5th leading rusher in the entire state of North Carolina that season as well. That's correct, TJ?
That is correct. Yep. All offensive players, I was 5th leading rusher.
Boom.
Obviously first quarterback.
There you go.
And I also had 1,001 passing yards. So there's that.
There you go. Yeah. So you want to know why we got a guy who knows what the hell he's talking about? Yeah, that's why you're seeing TJ on the screen. He really knows this stuff inside and out. Artie Cat says, just look how many guys didn't play in the bowl games already. Yeah.
It's embarrassing. Florida State is embarrassing how many guys they don't have playing. They've got like 6 starters. It's legitimately embarrassing. I know we're not on that, and I know we got to get to these clips, but that's embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of our first Raging Cajun fans of the season, too. SBC, baby. Yeah, that's correct. That's who we cover. That's what we're here to do for y'all. We'll jump into the next clip, which is brought to you by the famous Toastery Bowl in Charlotte, North Carolina. This one started off phenomenally for ODU, and this is a big part why here in this clip, TJ, as we see oh gosh, I'm going blank on his name as I'm thinking about it.
You can just call him Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And you're about to see why. What is happening, bro? Like, go score a touchdown. Touchdown. His feet are too big, legs are too long. I don't know what was going on, but this is not the way you draw it up for sure.
Yeah. So, and I asked you this before. I'll have you expand for the people now. You were obviously a quarterback, but you're also, wide out running back. How much trash talk are you doing to your own quarterback when he gets back to the sideline because he didn't get into the end zone here in a play like this?
He's got to hear it. He's got to hear that, especially if and when. I mean, obviously they scored on this drive, but if we score a touchdown, and everybody's happy. Oh, he's got to hear that. He absolutely has to hear that, and he's going to hear it the next day too.
Yeah,
I mean, because this is insane. Like, this is a touchdown, and then right here, the turf monster got you.
Yeah, I was actually scared for him for a second. I thought he had pulled something, come up lame. I was like, oh no, on the first play that he really exploded to, But hey, you know what? I think he'll take all the trash talk he gets because that 96-yard run or whatever the heck he just had. So, but Artie wants to let us know so disappointed with ODU letting them come back into this game. The Hill Stumpers suck.
Yeah, and you and I talked about this before the game started. I didn't think with the way I guess with the way Western Kentucky's offense is set up, it was not a good matchup for ODU, in our opinion. I think we both agreed before the game started. But then they come out and they hit him in the mouth the way they do, and it's like, oh, well, I guess it is a good matchup. And then it turned out not to be. I got home, and it was an overtime. I got home from work, and it was an overtime. I'm like, what the hell happened? Yeah. And my wife was sitting there. She's in the kitchen, and she's watching the game with me, and she's like, yeah, they came all the way back. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. We'll expand on that one later. But, yeah, there's a lot to talk about in that one. One that was also really ugly, but, in the end we were happy with was App State over Miami. And if you didn't see this one, you're about to find out why it was such an ugly game with so many fumbles and, I think, like we said, just one interception. But, okay, here I'll actually pause this one for just a second. They just go for it on 3rd and 3. They only gain a yard. They're in field goal range, up 6-3. At this point. We were talking about this live during the game, TJ, whether we're taking the points there or not. I think at that time, we definitely decided to take the points, but we'll let this play run through and you can expand on, what you want to speak on for that aspect of the game.
Yeah. Like you said, we talked about it. First of all, here's the thing. It's a really good play call for 4th and 2. He's wide open, right? He just slips. If you look at the play again, the corner has inside leverage, which first of all is just awful coverage, by the way.
Right. Why is he going inside there? Yeah,
it's inside cover. All your help's inside. So I don't know what the hell the cornerback is thinking. But so it was a good draw. And I get the thinking, right? We have a better quarterback than they do. Our receivers have been catching the ball somewhat, right? We're not throwing for 300 yards in the rain, but they've been catching the ball. You convert here, go score a touchdown. This game's basically over if that happens. You and our thinking was with the way the weather is set up, you go up 9-3. That's essentially a touchdown. And you almost can salt the game away after that because you got to count on them going, in time to get, and the way the weather is, they're not going to – no offense is going to be able to run the ball that consistently without making a mistake at some point.
Right.
And Miami of Ohio didn't throw the ball hardly any. Hardly at all. So It's essentially count on your offensive line not to make a mistake or count on somebody not to miss a block for 80 yards. It's almost impossible. So, I get the thinking and to Coach's credit, to Sean Clark's credit, it was an absolutely outstanding play call. He just lost his footing. At the end of the day, this would be a moot conversation had he kept his feet, and he probably would have caught the ball. I don't know what the hell kind of gloves they were wearing, but our guys were doing some great. The tight ends weren't wearing gloves at all, but our receivers were making some great catches in traffic in the rain. So kudos to those guys. But if he stays up, this isn't even a conversation. But I get why he did it. I just wouldn't have done it personally.
Right. No, I agree. I think just about everybody I was talking to during the game did not. It should have been 12-3 at one point, and instead it was 3-3. So we've got our Cajun fan letting us know that the Sunbelt teams have dominated a little bit from the start and then kind of went stale. Yeah. Absolutely true in most of these games, and it's all about finishing games out. And then Artie saying, I told y'all Miami is a solid team and be no pushover. Yes, but I think
here's the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, App fans were in pretty much agreement that if that had been dry conditions, that game would not have even been close.
It wouldn't have been because they couldn't stop us. Mm-mm. We were throwing the ball any way we wanted to, even in the rain. Yeah. And it's a friend of mine, a buddy of mine. He's I used to work with him. His cousin plays for Miami of Ohio. He plays running back. He's a backup running back. And I was like, he was talking all kind of trash, basically saying, if it had been dry, we'd have done this. And I'm like, would you have though? Because we threw for a considerable amount of yards given the situation. Do you honestly? And I called this before the game even started. Like last week when we were live, I called this. I said they can't stop us in the air. They can't stop our pass game, and they almost didn't even in the rain. So anyway, I'll get off of it, but I don't think. And I get it, Artie. They are a really good football team, but there's a difference between MAC football and Sun Belt football.
Yeah, and I'd say they're a really good defensive football team,
Right.
Which also tells you, again, if dry conditions happen, how good that App State offense could have been with literally Joey throwing a good ball, the receiver running a good route, but just couldn't keep his feet. And unfortunately, I think even Horn got hit in the hands once.
Yeah,
and
couple drops.
and it was so mad about it. He took the gloves off, man. He said, "No, screw these things."
Yeah.
So jumping into the next clip here, hopefully we still got our Raging Cajun fan with us, because this one is a good one from this one. Unfortunately, the game didn't go the way we wanted, but we have a pick 6 here by the Cajuns defense that put them up late in this one. Looking pretty good, too, at that point.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the quarterback was looking at here. You can obviously see the nickel corner or safety. I don't know what they had in place, almost like a rover. We talked about it, almost like a rover position. He does not move. He comes down about 4 or 5 yards, but he does not move from his area at all. And he just and I don't understand. Like, Webb just threw it right to him.
Yeah.
I don't get what happened. I can't, like, and we've looked at this backwards and forwards, every way you can possibly look at it. I don't know what he saw.
No.
I can't tell you even a little bit what he said. I think that's just not smart quarterbacking. Because at the snap of the ball, they got what looks like 3 safeties high. And then 4 kind of plays as like a rover, like in that little area. So he's not losing ground. I mean, he's a little bit of depth, but he's dropping because nobody's crossing his face. So you're taught if nobody crosses your face, get deeper than the deepest man on defense. Well, he's just going to keep dropping if you don't run somebody in front of his face. And I just don't know how the quarterback – I don't know how Webb didn't see him. I don't understand that at all. So that's just not smart football, not good eyes. And if you look at it from the quarterback's view, he never looked him off. Like he never even made me think that he was going to throw the ball in any other direction.
Right. And look, we brought this up too. There was 2 guys really. I mean, even if he had completed this pass, and it looks like 7 or maybe 3 there. Yeah. We can back it up once we play it.
Yeah, he was going to get his receiver killed. Like he might have died.
Yep. Yeah.
It would have been bad all the way around.
Yeah. So not a great throw by Webb there, and good situation for the Cajuns to find themselves in, although I was like almost a little too fast. Had they had this interception with 3.5 minutes to go instead of 5, maybe they have enough time to stop this defense or this offense from going down. Yeah,
I mean, look at 3. Look at the safety here. I mean, he's gonna even if that pass is complete, that receiver's gonna get. I mean, he's gonna get the hell knocked out of him.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I just don't know what he saw. I don't know what he was thinking.
No, I don't either. And Artie's got something to say here. Not wearing their red helmets with the pepper equals Lafayette loss. Yeah, I do love those helmets. Well, they need a mascot in general. They don't have one, and the chili pepper or cayenne pepper, I think is actually technically what it is. They need to bring that back because that's one of the coolest things. Nobody else has got that, right? Like, it's one of a kind.
Nobody else has called occasions.
Although I will say I'm following this guy on Twitter right now who's trying to get this alligator with this like old school varsity letter jacket.
Nice! That would be dope.
That is a pretty cool logo. I do have to say I've liked that every time he's put it up and shown it. So either way, they can't lose out if they get something like that. But we've also got your old coach here saying not a big fan of both teams having basically the same color pants, although the jerseys are different. All that red can be confusing, terrible. I was expecting one of the 2 teams to wear like the black. I think Jacksonville State has a black too. I know the Cajuns have a black, and I thought
I don't know why they just didn't wear all white. It just didn't. It wouldn't have made sense to wear all white. I mean, or it would have made more sense to wear all white.
True. But we got a Cajun fan who likes those. They were actually good uniforms, but the combination of them and Jacksonville State together was a little much for TV.
Yeah, it looked like Christmas out there.
Yeah, to me, it's like I want something when people tune in. It's like this is clear and obviously us, and that's clear and obviously them. And to me, it was, I turn it on, and even for me, if you're looking from an outside perspective, a quick like, oh wait, who's who again? So whatever.
Yeah, it's a point that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, could have been the like blending in of what the quarterback. No, you know what? I'm not letting him off the hook. That was stupid. That was a terrible throw. I'm not letting him off the hook. Nope.
Yeah. So
that was dumb football.
I don't think we can let him off the hook. Not from how that one looked. But unfortunately, it didn't go the Cajuns' way in the end. Now we are finally back to the one I started with to start with, the Myrtle Beach Bowl between Georgia Southern and Ohio. This one did not go their way. And actually, unfortunately for Southern fans, if we've got any watching, this play specifically ain't going to go your way either, as we see Hunt run here.
This is just absolute power football. You're going to have your tight end move down, and he's going to get inside leverage on that end. So the tackle can squeeze up. I mean, look at that. Oh, my God, that's so beautiful. That is absolutely – I hope Coach Gaylord is watching, because that is absolutely masterful work by that offensive line. Tight end is going to squeeze down to gain inside leverage, right, to scoop out that tight end or the defensive end. The tackle to his side is going to down block. When he down blocks the double team with the guard, he's going to go up to the middle linebacker, right? Middle linebacker is now taken out of the play because of that block. That is string music. That is absolute string music. That is a symphony of an offensive line playing together in sync. And as a running back, and again, I know I played wide receiver in college, but I'm a running back at heart. As a running back, that is absolute beautiful music. I mean, again, we can watch this a million times. Inside leverage, right? Tight into our side, scooping out, tight into the backside. He's wrapping around and sealing. And then the tackle to his side is getting up on the linebacker. I mean, it's 7-on-7, but run game, right? 7-on-7 run game football. And it's my guys are better than yours. My scheme is better than yours. My guys are coached up better, and they know exactly assignment and alignment football. I mean, that is the definition of assignment and alignment, because not only did everybody do what they were supposed to do, the tight end showing you alignment-wise why angles matter, right? Like why it matters to be able to get inside leverage on that defensive end so that you can free up your right tackle so that he can down block and then scoop up to that because if he doesn't get that middle linebacker, that's a 4-yard run.
Yeah. Yeah, they clog up that middle. He's got nowhere to go. That's right.
So I just think, I mean, again, I hope Coach is watching, but that was absolutely gorgeous. That's beautiful work. That's beautiful.
And Artie Kett says Georgia Southern is straight struggling. The wheels are coming. They definitely did come off. And honestly, though, TJ and I were actually talking at the specific point when they scored their first, well, no, I guess it was their second touchdown. They kind of made it look like it could be a game all of a sudden real quick.
Right.
But then, the next possession, I think Ohio scored again. We're like, okay, nope, it's over.
Yeah, it got bad quick. Second quarter, it just got out of hand.
Yeah, it did. And Yo Boy Cars, I think I'm pronouncing that screen name right, but he says, personally, the uniform the Cajuns wore for the first time this year on homecoming was the cleanest. I
missed that. Was that the chrome helmets?
I
can't remember.
Well, I
do like those chrome. I'm both in two ways about the chrome helmets. I'm fine with the chrome helmets if their unis are all red. But if they got chrome helmets and there's white on it, I don't. If the unis are white, I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah. Very true. All right. Well, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Danos, and then we're going to jump back in and expand on what we've seen in some of these clips by talking a little bit further and deeper into these bowl games that have already happened and focusing on those for the Sun Belt.
Yum, yum, get you some. Very good. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Danos Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa.
Joe, we all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Danos Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
As we mentioned before, spicy, probably my favorite.
Yep.
Chipotle, well, actually, I think that was the Chipotle. Either way, those are my two favorites. But the original, you can't go wrong when you want to spice up some chicken for yourself, or you got something that you're wanting to just add some flavor to. So can't go wrong there. TJ, I'm going to add up here so we can get going through some of these bowls. So we're checking in on the bowls as we've gone through them already. Where does the Sun Belt sit? Most of us watching now follow the Sun Belt routinely. We already technically know this. We're going to dive just a little bit deeper and expand on kind of some of the things we've seen from the conference so far as a whole, really. So the bowl standings, we've got it up on your screen now. Not all conferences have played a game. I eliminated the ones that, haven't played a game from even being listed. We're not going to clutter this up for no reason.
Sure.
But we've got the American going 1-0 after last night's UTSA victory over Marshall. We've got the Big 12 1-0 as well. Conference USA sitting at 2-1. The MAC at 1-1. The Mountain West Conference at 1-1. The Pac-12 at 1-1. And unfortunately, and you can't even see this, I'm going to have to take Dano's little banner down for a second. But this is the thing you don't know when you're laying these things out. The Sun Belt sits at a measly 1-4 record, by far the worst so far, although obviously we've had the most amount of teams play. So we were either going to have the best record or the worst at this point.
Right. It's either going to be one or the other.
Yeah. So let's keep that down until we get through this one here. I mean, so just on the base here, does anything shock you as far as the records are concerned, TJ? I mean, most of these are pretty, like, they make sense, but the Sun Belt one, I did not expect to be 1-4.
Yeah, everything for me, for the most part, makes sense except Sun Belt, right? Like, again, going back to it, I did not pick Georgia Southern to beat Ohio. I think neither of us did. I expected us to go 2-2. Right, I expected App State and I expected Louisiana to win. Both games were close, right? It could have gone either way for either team. I did not pick Western Kentucky. We talked about this several different times, just based on the style. We talk about it a lot. Styles make fights, and I think that's the reason why Western Kentucky was able to come back, was because of their style of play. Right, it takes a while sometimes to get the pass game running. Right, to get it going the way you want it to get it going, right? Because a couple drops here and there, they end drives, right? If you got a high octane offense that throws the ball 100 times a game, you live by that or you die by that, essentially. And what ends up happening is in the first half for Western Kentucky is they get behind the sticks a lot because either a sack happens or drop passes or penalties, right? You clean that up. Right. And you're literally one big play away from a 70-yard touchdown, which is what they showed you they were capable of doing, especially in that fourth quarter. So what happened in the fourth quarter was what you and I thought was going to happen the entire game. So I didn't pick ODU because of that. Now, I was unpleasantly surprised at towards the end of the game about how they allowed them to come back. So that was a bummer. But I did expect us to be 2-4. So the reality of it is, while we are 1-4, it's not really far off from what our prediction was. I mean, it's really only one game off from what, because Georgia Southern's lost 5 in a row going into this. And again, ODU, we thought was good, but we didn't think they were good enough. So Louisiana and App State, or Louisiana, was really the only surprise here. Yeah,
that's true. And I will say that both of us did not have prior knowledge that Jason Henderson for ODU was not going to go in their bowl game. We thought that was an aspect of why you should watch the bowl game. So that obviously didn't tilt in our favor. And we'll expand on that in the next little thing. But we also want to get to y'all's comments. Cajuns' tough schedule next year. Tulane, Michigan State, just to name a few. Louisiana versus Tulane in Lafayette, and he calls it Laffy. I guess they nickname it Laffy, which makes sense because I think I've told you this. They pronounce that first part of Lafayette, as we would say up here, as Lafayette down there. Just so some of y'all are wondering, you ever go down there? It is a Lafayette, not Lafayette. So just so you know, and I know that because I've been down there twice. Great people, great team.
They make sure you know.
Yeah, they make sure you know, but they're nice about it. Just like we don't like being called Appy State, we tell you, or
Appalachian or any of that nonsense. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't say that. And he really hopes Troy gets a win for the Sun Belt. Both of us are in that same boat. We definitely do.
Absolutely.
And Artie, and Artie's disappointed so far, but we can still pull off a winning bowl record. Absolutely. And we'll jump into this next thing. So TJ's seeing some of this for the first time. I'm going to talk for a second as he reads through some of these to see if anything's really kind of surprising to him. So what I've done to explain this to the people that are watching this is taken all 16 teams that have played in bowl games and ranked their offense, both passing and rushing, and seen where just the 16 teams, so obviously some of those teams aren't Sunbelt teams, right? Or Sunbelt Bowls, I should say. Obviously, half of what it's on the thing is going to be teams that aren't Sunbelt teams, but this includes like UCLA versus Boise State as well. So all 16 teams who have played in bowl games so far, it's just those 16 teams. This is not based on all of NCAA or anything like that.
Right.
But these are the rushing and passing rankings for those 16 teams, but I'm only showing the Sun Belt because we don't care about the other ones.
Fair.
I have those.
No, go ahead.
I have those numbers for the other ones in front of me. So if we want to reference like, well, who's this number, we can. But the shocking part to me is like, Georgia Southern's third in passing, but they're all the way in dead last of all the teams that have played in rushing yards. And let's just think how crazy that is, because a couple of years ago, they were running a triple option offense where they're putting up 300 and 400 yards rushing, and they weren't passing the ball at all. So it's like a total reverse of where they used to be.
Yeah. Well, and so that number too is really skewed, right? Like if Bren throws for 350 yards, obviously they're going to be third in passing because, so I'm in 16 games, not a whole lot of quarterbacks in college football are throwing for 300 plus yards.
No.
He also threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So let's we got to like it. One of these is not the same is essentially what I'm getting at. Like, the numbers, they're great. But while they are great, they're great because you took a lot of chances. So I give it credit and I give it some credence as it relates to the college football landscape of what the bowl season has looked like so far. But a lot of mistakes come with that if you're Brent at this point. So and the App State 10th and 7th, kind of middle of the pack-ish, especially in rushing, that is also skewed based on weather conditions, right? I mean, there is absolutely no way we would be 10th in passing had, the game been dry. We got 4 receivers right now, 2 of which can probably play on Sunday. So, it's while I like these numbers, they are, they're not as telling as they should be. ODU 5th in passing, Marshall 5th in passing. They did a really good job getting the ball out through the air. I think Pennington 258 yards. He did not throw a touchdown pass, but he put up a respectable performance last night. The problem was they couldn't stop anybody, and they didn't have the ball. UTSA in the second half, UTSA had the ball for I think it was 21 minutes or something crazy like that. I mean, it was insane. They barely got the ball back. So, when your defense can't get off the field, there's that. So it's a lot that goes into these numbers as you're looking at them just on its face. It 10th in this, 7th in this, 3rd in this. But there's a lot of nuance to go into it because having watched the games and understanding what happened and what took place, and most of the people that are following us, they watch the games, they've seen this as well. There's some other stuff, right, that we're not including in these rankings.
Yes, yeah, that's very true, and that's why I thought some of these numbers are kind of interesting. And also, it's just like you said, in a different aspect, it's going to be greatly skewed. There's only 16 teams, so you're going to have some high numbers in some spots and some low numbers, and it's not going to, like you said, it's not telling the whole story.
Right, it's not indicative of who the football team has been.
Yes, so Old Dominion is 5th in rushing. They had one quarterback run that we saw earlier that you talked about that was almost a 90-yard run in one scoop.
Right,
but they didn't gain that many yards throughout the rest. I mean, let me see. I have that number here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, ODU, I don't know, 126 rushing yards by Wilson.
Yeah, but see, listen to this. They have 196 as a team. So other than Wilson and that 190-yard run or whatever it was, they only gained around 100 as a team. Now, if that's one other player, that's phenomenal. But, as a team, that means they had Wicks and Callaway, they weren't
Almost
picking up.
do nothing.
Right. So it's like, it's a great number, 5th in rushing, but it doesn't mean as much when, like you said, you look at it. And then Artie Cat says, look how bad Louisiana's stats towards the bottom. Marshall with more passing than rushing, which is strange. It is strange, except for the fact that you saw Ali, again, in those clips that we broke down earlier, with that one long run. I think I saw the Thundercast guys say it was his longest run of his career, actually, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But longest run of his career, and then he doesn't play the whole entire second half, whether it's due to kind of being banged up.
I don't know what that was about. That was strange.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all either. I haven't seen any real reason for that. I'm hoping that it was kind of more of a banged up thing, and he's just saying, like, listen, I'm just not 100%.
Yeah, but he never sat down.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that just because you don't sit down doesn't mean you aren't hurt. I don't want that misconception out there. Like your knee, you can walk and still not have a good knee. Like I get that.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, it's just weird. Like it was odd. I don't know. I would need to see some sort of, not that they have this, they do in pros, some sort of injury report that tells me what happened. I need to know what happened, or would like to know what happened.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting one. Doesn't have to do with the stats we're talking about now, but I do want to expand on this one from the Cajun fan that we've got. Thoughts on the Sunbelt West winning 3 straight conference championships, because most say the West is the weak link. And I would say that what you're seeing in the West and why they've been producing the conference champ more often, first of all, they've been great teams, right? Troy these last 2 years for sure, and Louisiana the year before that. They're top heavy, right? The 1 or 2 teams in the West have been really strong, and then they play a lot of kind of middling or less than good teams in the West, where the East is more consistent throughout the entire thing. So they're playing more tough teams. They're not able to stay at the top because there's a lot of stuff going on in the middle where those teams could be, one win can jump them up 3 spots all of a sudden. Yeah. So to me, the West is the weak link because of you're looking at it from top to bottom. I'm not saying the West top teams can't compete. Yeah. The West top teams, like we said, they're the best. They've been the best these past couple of years. So I'm not saying the West, the top team or 2 in the West is not good. But what I'm saying is when you look at the whole picture, I think the East is deeper all the way around. Whereas every week you go into the East and go, I don't know. I mean, someone could be favored by a touchdown or 2, but I really don't know. Where the West is like, if you're playing, previous to this year, if you're playing Arkansas State or ULM, even before the last 2 seasons, South Alabama, you're expecting to win those games easy. Yeah. So, I think it's just a top to bottom thing. And TJ, I don't know what your thoughts are if they kind of go differently than that.
Echo everything you just said. I mean, you look at the East, you got App State, Marshall, Georgia Southern, Coastal, JMU
now.
Yeah. All 5 of those teams at any point of the season can beat the hell, not just beat you, they can beat the hell out of you if they're on their game. Like they can beat you by 30. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then ODU's on the way up. And there's a couple other it's just there's a lot in the East as opposed to out West. It's like you said, every now and again South Alabama does what they do, but Troy and Louisiana, and then after that it's kind of maybe you can win, maybe you can't,
Yeah, absolutely. He also mentioned that Ali from Marshall is a special player. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's 100%. One of the downsides to not being able to see him go for the full game yesterday. Artie says he did go into the injury tent and entered the transfer portal.
He went into the injury tent, was like, no mas.
Yeah. He came out without the jersey on. He's like, I don't know who I'm playing for now.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's giving us credit for our point on the West teams. Yeah, it's not a slight on those top teams in the West.
No, it just is what it is. The facts are the facts.
Yeah, I think that's what people misconstrue when people say the West is weak. We're not talking about the top teams in the West. We're talking about just as a whole thing. And Artie says, not the way the East has been playing lately. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
fair.
Okay. So we've got these stats. I didn't put these into a stat here because it's not really so much of a stat. But listen to this. So App State plays Miami. App State is 2nd or 3rd in the Sun Belt by a technicality, right? They lost in the championship game, but technically JMU has the better record.
Right.
You can argue.
Technically 3rd overall, yes.
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd. I don't care. You make the decision there. But they play the first place team in the MAC. Now that game's a win, so that's good. But we've got Georgia Southern who plays 7th in the East, again, including James Madison within that. And Ohio, again, this is, second or third based on they weren't in the championship game, but they were second in the MAC East or whatever you call it. So you're playing a team that's like 3 or 4 spots ahead of this other team.
Right. It's not conference adjacent is what you're saying.
Exactly. You're not playing 1 versus 1. And so then we're just going down the list. Well, let's just complete it all. Louisiana, 5th in the Sun Belt West. Jacksonville State, 3rd in Conference USA, which I don't think they have divisions, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. So that's a 3rd place team going up against a 5th place team. ODU, 4th in the Sun Belt East. Western Kentucky, 4th in Conference USA. So there's a pretty close one, although, again, Conference USA not having divisions, ODU would not have been 4th.
No, ODU would have been like 8th.
Yes. So then you've got Marshall was 6th in the Sun Belt East, so even worse than ODU, going up against the 3rd place team in the American in UTSA. So, again, as you said, and Artie's pointed out too, 1-4 record, but an opportunity to win a lot more games because, let's be honest, our better teams have really yet to – sans Appalachian State, our better teams have really yet to play.
Right.
And the teams that did play weren't our best teams. Now, that it's also not an excuse about why we're losing these games. Like you said, we were up drastically by a drastic margin in the ODU game. You can't drop that type of game. Marshall looks phenomenal for the first quarter last night, and then just kind of falls off the cliff. And then the Cajuns probably should have won that game because Jacksonville State was mostly won. I don't know. Maybe they weren't. Let me see their stats again. I got that in front of me. Okay, so they were very even, actually. 236 through the air, 290 on the ground, which actually trounces Louisiana's numbers, which were 155 through the air and only 92 on the ground. So the fact Louisiana was close in that game, when you break down the offensive stats, is kind of surprising.
Yeah, well, they defense showed up. Obviously, pick six, those kinds of things. I mean, defense played football. They gave them and a lot of that too. Those touchdowns came from getting short fields from takeaways. Yeah,
absolutely. ULM seems they grabbed a whole lot of portal of the JUCOs. Hey, not a bad route. There's plenty of good players. App State almost legend Joey Aguilar was brought over from a JUCO program out in California. Lots of talent there. He just had an interview on the Black and Gold podcast. If you're interested in hearing his thoughts, it's not a big portion of the interview, but he mentions how JUCO players have tons of talent because it's guys who kind of failed out due to grades and not the ability on the field, or it's guys who never got that major college offer and were kind of holding out by going to a JUCO to hone their stuff, hone their crafts and hone their stuff before trying to get a bigger, better offer, which is kind of what Joey had done. So it's not anybody who disparages JUCOs is not of the right mind and doesn't really know what they're talking about. Obviously, there could be some issues, underlying issues why some guys are there, but I don't. TJ, was a JUCO such a big thing when you played? I know App was pretty famous for bringing in a couple from Georgia Military Academy or whatnot.
Yeah, we brought in one or two, not any that. I mean, I think one. Well, I think two. Chris Aiken, he made a big difference. He started defensive tackle for us. He was my roommate junior year, I believe it was, and he came in and made an immediate impact. But we didn't have a ton of junior college transfers. We didn't have a ton of transfers, period. We had one from LSU. He ended up actually not starting. We thought he was going to be great. He ended up not panning out really well at all. We had a couple transfers, but none of them. Most of our guys were sort of Golden State, right? We recruited and grew our own guys, right? It was just sort of, we didn't have a lot of people come in and immediately start making differences for us.
Where did Tharrington come from? He was from LSU though, right?
Gary? Yeah. No, Gary is from here, North Carolina. Gary he came in when I came in.
Okay. I thought he was a transfer. Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy.
Big G. He redshirted his freshman year and then ended up starting and was an All-American 2 years in a row.
Well, I do remember him being fantastic because there's a reason I remember that name. But yeah, I guess I just misremembered there. The guy that came in from LSU was a lineman though, wasn't he? Or was he?
Yes, he was a defensive end, and he was just okay. I don't even remember his name, to be honest. He was okay. He was serviceable. He didn't start. and I think he started a couple games. I don't want to lie and say he didn't start. I think he started a couple games, but he just wasn't, once Tony Robertson got there, it was like, all right.
Yeah.
Next.
Tony, another great player. Was Tony from North Carolina too?
Tony is, yeah. Tony's from Laurinburg.
Okay. That's out towards the coast too, right? Or no?
Towards it, out 74 going that way, but kind of before you get to it's like kind of in between Fayetteville and what is it? Southport, like kind of between Fayetteville and Southport on 74.
Okay. Gotcha. Oh, so we got two things here. Artie says Texas State had a solid mix of high school transfer and a few JUCOs. We got some high school defensive players, and that's where we need help the most. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the defense was not good enough for Texas State last year.
No, they were not.
So if they can round that defense into form, though, they're going to be dangerous because that offense was pretty good last year.
I think they'll do well against Rice, though.
Yeah, that's very true. We need to see them I don't just want to see them beat Rice. I want to see them dominate Rice. So to be honest with you,
they need to beat the hell out of Rice.
Yeah. He said, Cajun fan says, sorry for the off-topic questions, but who would you like to see join the Sun Belt next in the West? I don't know if you're prepared for that type of question, TJ. I'm always prepared for that question because I've had these two teams marked for a long period of time. So basically, I'd want to keep the same numbers. I'll put that question back up so people know what I'm talking about. The same numbers in the East and the West. So I don't want to see an off-balance.
Like lopsided, yeah.
So we have 7-7 now. I want 8-8, and I want to be done, honestly. But the reason I want to be done after this is because I want to bring in Memphis from the West. Okay, it does a couple things. Brings in a talented basketball program, one that's going to help sell tickets in some of these places where basketball is not king and not that important. You got Memphis coming into your stadium or arena. You're going to want to go see them, right? They're kind of must-see TV as far as basketball is concerned.
Sure,
they'd be the top dog every single year. It'd be fun to kind of try and knock them off and just be involved with the team that in a school and a program who cares a lot about basketball. So I'm bringing them in for basketball. Obviously, they've had some phenomenal years in football. They're a little bit down, but they're still a very quality opponent. They'd come in and fit right into the Sun Belt immediately in football as well. And then on the lesser side of that, they'd provide an instant rivalry, a heated rivalry with Arkansas State. I think their schools are about an hour and a half apart at most. Right. And then again, another thing for fans, right? If you're flying right into Memphis's airport, very easy to get in and out of. Very outdated, I will say that, but it's an easy in and out. FedEx is stationed there for people that don't know, so they'll probably have like all kinds of additional concourses and nicer stuff in their airport throughout the years because of that partnership. And then I'd add East Carolina in the East. I think TJ, would agree with me there, being North Carolina guy as well. But it would just bring in not only the App State kind of cross-state rivalry, but you'd actually probably have a closer game. Well, maybe it's about the same amount of time. It'd be interesting to see how far Greenville is from Conway. I think Coastal versus ECU would be a huge
it's not that far. It's so I know that Greenville is about an hour. It's about an hour 45 minutes north of my hometown, still along the coast. So and then Myrtle Beach is only 3 hours, so 4.5, 5 hour drive, not bad.
Okay, so then you got. On top of them, you've got ODU not far from Greenville either, which they did a series in baseball last year. And it seemed like both fan bases were kind of into it, right? So, you've got a bunch of teams right there. And really, James Madison's not terribly far. It's a much longer bus ride and everything for them. But technically, they could get there. And on top of all that, right now is the greatest time for ECU to jump in because they're down, right? In football anyway. They're down. They don't provide anything in basketball. They're kind of like App State in basketball. They might have a good year here or there, but they're not even like a traditional tournament team or anything that's going to offer a lot in basketball. But they're going to bring in fans who care. They got a great following.
So I can tell you firsthand.
Yes.
Firsthand. I used to go to ECU games when I was in middle and high school because it was the closest stadium to us. I used to go all the time. I didn't even know people on the team. I had a cousin of mine, Chris Johnson, he played Chris Moore. He played linebacker for ECU. This was back in the early 90s or mid 90s, I think. Or no, probably late 90s. Anyway, he played linebacker, and I used to, first down, Pirates, like that was, you know what I mean? Like that was, I thought I wanted to go, and I actually was offered by ECU coming out of high school, and didn't go because it was too close to home, but whatever.
What'd they want you to play?
I was going to be a slot running back, they were going to do some. They labeled me a running back, but I was going to catch passes. So
gotcha.
Really, everybody outside of Georgia Southern, everybody that I talked to or spoke to had me at that kind of scat back. It was basically like athlete position. Like I wasn't, like it wasn't a defined position.
Gotcha. You were do they call that the X? Well, no, because X is like an actual wide receiver.
It was the M receiver, but I was like on paper, like on all the scouting reports, I was listed as ATH, so just athlete.
Okay,
like I was just out there. Like I didn't have an actual position. I was just on the field. You were
ATH and P for punter.
Yes. I also punted. For those of you who don't know, I punted like 3 games.
I still think that's hilarious to me. Like
probably
I just
4 times. Yeah.
It just doesn't like what I've seen you do on the field doesn't translate to like this guy's going to be kicking the ball. Like
yeah, listen, my when I was in Little League football, I won our county's punt, pass, and kick competition.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I could boot it now. Now, accuracy is a question, but I can get it. I can get some distance on it.
Okay, I was going to say it's not to disparage you. I thought the same thing when Ocho Cinco would line up for stuff. I'm like, this dude doesn't look like he's going to kick the ball good, well. So yeah, and he did. He was phenomenal at it.
After the game, my dad, because this is the first time my dad had ever seen me do it, because I didn't do it in high school either, but I could. And my dad was like, when you got shifted, I was like, what the hell what is going on? They got him playing quarterback? And then he was like, that's a long way for a quarterback snap. And I'm like, no, I was kicking it.
Yep. Did you pull any of the what do they call the play when the quarterback's in shotgun but he ends up punting it anyway kind of thing?
Yeah, that was it. That was what that was. Like that was like emergency punt, like catch them off guard kind of thing. They've got nobody back there, pin them deep. Yeah. That's what it was. I only did it like 3 or 4 times across like 3 games. So it wasn't like we implemented it my junior year, like midway through the season, because no one had seen us do it. And then after like the end of the season, we didn't do it any my senior year, which I was fine with.
Yeah. Don't take any of those unnecessary hits.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't going to go down there and tackle anybody. That wasn't happening. That's one thing I'm not doing is tackling.
Yeah. And so you said you're not on X or Twitter as much. Unfortunately, the Cajuns look to lose Zion Chris.
I did hear about that.
Yeah. So terrible for the Cajuns and also terrible for the conference because, I mean, we're trying to cover the whole conference, right? But we also want to see the best teams and we want to see the best players. And he's one of the best players out there in the West. And I'd love to have seen him continue on because I thought he was fun to watch. So interesting. But again, as we kind of talked about, and we'll get back to that question about those Power 5 programs kind of throwing some money around to try and get some of these guys and steal them from the G5s who unfortunately kind of bring them up out of high school and develop them before anybody else gets to see them. Seems like teams were in contact with him before he entered the portal. Tampering. Yes, there's no doubt that it's happening. And some of it's probably legal because what I've read is if there's a ex-teammate of his, and maybe this happened back when you played too, TJ, I'm not sure how much of this kind of went on. But if there's an ex-teammate or somebody who was a crosstown rival and knows of him and says, hey, coach, I can put in a good word with Zion over at Louisiana and see if he wants to come over, and the coach just says, hey, man, if you want to do that, that'd be great. I mean, technically, that's not considered tampering.
No, it's not.
There's still a line of, like, obvious knowledge that can be
yeah, listen, if you think that kind of stuff doesn't happen, you are naive. Like, because these kids that come from these hometowns, they're friends. They, you know how many times my cousin, my best receiver in high school, I threw for, like I said earlier, 1,001 passing yards. He had like 800 of them. And he went and played safety at Elon. Do you know how many times I tried to get him to come to App State?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I knew he was better than what they had going on over there. Like, and he deserved to play. Wanted him to play. I don't know what it would have looked like, but so I say that to say this is life. Like that's gonna continue to happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what Artie is referencing here. I mean, I know UTRGV just looks like a bunch of letters. Did we cover this already? Did you know what this stood for, TJ?
No.
University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and maybe that's their mascot's name, Vaqueros.
That is an insane amount of words that I don't ever hope to have to say ever again in my life. I don't want anyone to ever accuse me on that.
Yeah, and now you know why they go by that acronym because he's saying he wants them in the conference.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I don't, to be honest, because I don't want to have to say that. I don't want to have to say that at all. I don't ever want to have to say that.
That's the only reason you don't want them in the conference.
Yeah,
no, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't have enough knowledge base to know if I want them in the conference.
I didn't even know that school existed.
We'll just call them the Cowboys because he says it's Spanish for Cowboys, which is a cool nickname. Now that I know what it means.
So just say Cowboy. So just call them Cowboys.
The Rio Grande Valley Cowboys at University.
Well, the crazy thing is, I know what Rio Grande Valley is. I didn't know all the other stuff that was with it.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, I don't know any of that. So,
yeah, I don't know why I know that. I guess I've seen them enough. But like, I think they had a decent basketball team or something the other year, and that's why I figured out what those numbers stood for. And it's so weird. Every time I see it now, it's never like, what is that? Like, it just immediately.
I mean, it's
weird.
Now,
but, I mean,
because you're not going to associate it with anything else.
I guess that's the point. Yeah, I was just going to say it's not MSU or USM, or it's not like these 3 and 4 letter ones that you see all the time. It's crazy, so it's memorable. So there's that. I mean, we'd love to come down and see you, Artie. I thought you were moving to Florida, though. I thought you were retiring and moving to Florida.
I thought that's where you were going, buddy.
Hey, we'll come visit you there too. Don't worry about it. We'll come down.
Yeah, I like sunshine and blue skies.
Yobi Carr says Cajuns have 5 Power 5 transfers visiting soon. Good portal players Cajuns have been getting. Yeah, it's so weird. You know, you're going to lose some guys that you're devastated about, and then you're going to bring in some guys who may be some unsung heroes from some of these bigger programs who didn't get their shot properly, and they're going to prove themselves at the G5 level now. And then if they do that, maybe they'll be gone the next year. I mean, again, it's getting crazy. It's hard to keep up with. There's a reason why TJ and I are not going over the NLI, which is the National Letter of Intent, all those that were signed today. I could have had a list, and it could have been changing or different by the time, I looked 3 hours later. It was way too much to kind of keep up with. We're trying to keep this a little simpler and shorter today as far as that is concerned. Texas, Artie is saying Texas State and Arkansas State really have no rivals now. Following back up with that point. Yeah, that's why I put Memphis in there for Arkansas State. I just don't see anybody to me that kind of makes sense down in Texas to bring in. Again, we don't want like a Rice or anything because that's a private institution. It's got a lot more money than a lot of the other teams in the Sun Belt. So I hate it for Texas State because I think that would really help them.
I mean, UTSA, how far is UTSA away from Texas State? San Antonio is where in relation to Texas State?
I think it's, Artie can correct us if we're wrong here. I think it's within about 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but is it 2 hours west? Because if it's 2 hours west, then that just ruins it.
I want to say that Texas State is a little bit southwest of Austin. Now, this is off the top of my head. So, again, if anyone wants to expand on this or I can bring it up, but I think it's like a little southwest of Austin, not far at all, like an hour, maybe hour and a half at the most. And I think you can look it up while I'm talking about it?
Yep.
Okay. Artie says it's 44 minutes away to the south.
So that's not bad.
Yeah. But
you can bring UTSA in and see what happens. I mean,
well, here's the thing. I would say that makes sense, and I'd love to see it if they were in Conference USA because I think they'd agree that it's a step up to the Sun Belt, especially if they get brought in, right? The problem is they're already jumped to the American, and I think most of us agree that the Americans kind of lost their luster as far as what it used to be. The problem is the American still has the TV contract that they ain't going to want to lose. So there's no incentive for them other than like a more regional setup because the money's worse. And I think
fair.
the last
That's
I've
fair.
read, if I can remember, is like the Sun Belt doesn't even have another opportunity to restructure their streaming broadcasting rights deal until like 5 or 6 years from now, which is horrible. It's a terrible deal in the end. It's unfortunate that like all of this excitement has come and then we're kind of stuck in this deal. I'm sure if something else happens movement wise, they'll be able to kind of do something with lawyers to get out of that current deal and
I was
restructure.
going to say deals are meant to be broken. We can that can be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, James Madison made the jump like all of a sudden, you know, they were playing a 1A schedule or FBS schedule as soon as they made the conference jump again, which is why they made that argument that they were bowl ready this season. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that. Yobi Cars is saying Tarleton State would fit in well in the West, would be a natural rival with Texas State. I've heard Tarleton State, you know, they've been stepping up. They got a lot of money from the sounds of it or looks of it with their facilities. I just don't know enough. You know,
Yeah, I don't know enough to know how good they would be and how well they would do in the conference, and that matters.
Yes, and you know that's with us not being down there regionally within that Louisiana, Texas region where you guys probably a lot more aware of Tarleton and what they offer and can bring, and maybe you know people that went there. We're far removed from that, so we're not the best to say that. So we'll lean on you guys for that. In that he says they're second or third in attendance for FCS, and they average about 22,000. Pretty impressive for an FCS school.
Hell yeah, that's not bad.
I think the thing with that is there's a lot of excitement right now. If I'm not mistaken, Tarleton just moved up from Division II to FCS just a year or two ago. So to me,
they need to get their feet wet.
Yeah, if you're jumping again this soon, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But
recruiting wise, it's going to be huge. It's going to be super tough.
Yeah. And already saying Austin's about 20 minutes north.
Okay.
So, I mean, wow. You know, now I want to visit Texas State even more because they're so close to all these.
And I was here to say, it's some, we can get down there and see what's going on.
Yeah, UTSA is our rival, but different conference. Okay, so they already have that natural rivalry, as he spoke about a little bit ago as well. Yeah, I mean, I think it would make sense. I would love it for Texas State to have somebody within the conference that they can really hang their hat on, like a rival they hate and they love to play.
Right.
I agree with everyone who says they don't have that now, and that's until this year when they were a lot better than they have been. That's kind of been the downside of why people don't care as much about Texas State, I guess, to be quite honest. Okay, here's this. We'll read this one. No to Tarleton, Central Arkansas, or brand new Cowboys make more sense. Actual teams out west.
Yeah, that's fair.
I could see Central Arkansas because I don't know if it makes sense for a Texas State rival. It certainly would make sense for Arkansas State. And actually, for whatever reason, they've played Central Arkansas like 3 out of the last 5 seasons or something like that. So, yeah, I could see that one. Again, I'd have to look at like attendance numbers.
Like I need to know more about Central or Arkansas to have an educated opinion on whether or not they would be a fit. But just location and, in-state, I still think UTSA is better. However, in terms of better for the conference. But not mad about Central Arkansas if, in fact, it would make sense from a competitive perspective.
Yeah, I think my thought process is the same as most people's now. It's kind of unfortunate that we have this thought process, but it is what it is. At this point, we've brought up a lot of FCS schools, but they've been successful FCS schools, and they've now been pretty successful after the move up. But if you continue to do that, you're going to miss more than you have in the past. You're not always going to get the winners. You're not always going to get them to translate well when they come up.
Right.
At some point, that success stops. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to bring in more traditional powers that are already established FBS programs like Memphis and like East Carolina. Yes, neither one of them are like New Year's Six quality at this point, but they can be back there very quickly. Whereas an FCS team that's transitioning up, saying somebody like James Madison, who seems to have done it quite quickly, that's not the usual. That's not the standard. So I'm evaluating it on a bigger basis, a bigger picture, and saying, those are very odd circumstances that aren't going to always happen for you. So yeah, I'd be no to Tarleton for a few of those reasons right there. We got Neil joining back in. He says 22,000. That's right along with JMU and CCU. I'm not sure if that's a slight or not, but 22,000 still pretty good for the Sun Belt Conference in attendance. But he's saying good point on, I think Moto was just speaking on there, I guess. But Artie agrees that they're not leaving the American because of the money. Yeah, I can't fault any American teams for not showing more interest in the Sun Belt, although I think some of them would if the money was the same. Certainly if the money was better, right? Money is a big factor.
Yeah.
But
and JMU's 25,000 roughly. So
okay.
In that same ballpark, yes.
It'd be interesting to see if they build the other side of that stadium like they should. If that number would go up pretty drastically.
Yeah, I would say so. Everybody in that area should want to come see JMU play football.
Yeah. And being there on game day when App was there, they definitely had a ton of people outside of the stadium who were sitting on this little hill who probably had not a great view, but there was a ton of people out there. It wouldn't have filled up an equal side to the big side, but it still would have put a lot more butts in seats. So
sure.
They definitely can use a bigger stadium immediately. But it'll be interesting to see how big they go and how fast that happens. And Neil says, yes, it was a slight on those. Hey, when you're App State fan, you can talk on the attendance all you want because we're one of the only teams in the entire country who's literally won over 100% of the capacity for almost every home game this season.
Yeah, like 95% of them anyway.
Yeah, averaged over 100% capacity for the entire season. So not many schools can say that. And Neil says he doesn't like them. Yeah, well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, Neil. Can't hate on that. And to help that aspect, I was going to make a few graphics for all of our bowl champions, but here it is. There's only one. So
there's only one.
App State took home the Cure Bowl. There's Sean Clark, head coach Sean Clark with the trophy there. It's a weird looking trophy. What do you think of that trophy? It's like a football with the middle missing, and it's also
do not like it. But I get it. I get it because of the ribbon. Like I understand why it is the way it is.
That's true.
Yeah. But you know what? One more trophy to put in the trophy case. I got a video of my son going up to the trophy case when we went to the game, and he was like, "Daddy, you guys won all of these trophies?" And I'm like, well, I wasn't on all those teams, but there's a lot of them. Yes. You guys win everything. And I'm like, 7-1, it's hard to say we don't.
Yeah. Well, you turned them around from the trophy case and saw all the individual trophies because you did win all three of those, TJ.
Yeah, they were also special. No, I mean, it was fun, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I'm proud of what these guys did for sure. And what these guys are doing. I know it's tough, right? Because, you get to this level and, I get in stupid arguments with people on social media all the time. Appalachian State won national championships when it wasn't a real national championship. I'm like, well, define real, because what did you do? Like, what do you have a national championship or what's going on? Because I can show you my ring. I don't know if you can show me yours. So there's that. You know what I mean? So it's something. We're not Alabama. Right. It's not LSU. It's not Florida State. It's not Oregon, but we are who we are. And I'm proud of these guys for doing what they've done. Will we ever be any of those schools? No. Can we be the best school in North and South Carolina? Absolutely we can. And I think that's where we start focusing first, is being the best in our region. And if that means North and South Carolina and even Virginia, then I know JMU is going to give us a hard time. And obviously trying to match up with Clemson on a year in, year out basis, that would be tough recruiting in that area, but it's not impossible. And once that happens and you start dominating your region, then you can start talking about some other things. So,
yep. And you actually brought that exact point up earlier this year when you said James Madison's the best team in Virginia, and they have two other Power 5 programs that were there. And James Madison was clearly better than both of those two teams. Well, I mean, the Virginia game was close, okay, but I mean, we saw what JMU put on the field this year, and didn't really have any questions on whether they could have taken care of business against Virginia as well. Yobi Cars is saying I truly believe our attendance numbers will go up soon, but he also is correcting himself, saying Tarleton State is 19,000 people per game attendance, which is still higher than the Cajuns. I do think that the Cajuns' attendance, like he said, will go up drastically once that new stadium is complete.
Yeah.
We've been watching them tear down that previously current home side, if you will. from their stadium now, and with what we've seen on drawings, it's going to look real nice. It's actually going to be smaller. It's going to be made smaller on purpose, but I think it's going to be a better look and a better feel for that stadium in general. They have a great, again, TJ, we got to get you down there, man. They have a great setup with like their stadium kind of built down in like the Michigan and like, you know, other stadiums like that. I think Wofford even kind of was built, at least on the one side, was kind of built down in.
Mm-hmm.
But theirs is the same way. You kind of walk in on the, you know, circular level, and then you go down to all the seats. But then there's like a flat area all around where the parking is. So there's not like the App State thing where you got, you know, your cars parked like this on a hill trying to tailgate. Everything's flat. So yeah, they have a really nice setup for football. They just, if they've had the success they had, you know, when Napier was there, their attendance would look different. I don't think they're filling that stadium up still. It was just too big for them, to be totally honest with you.
Right.
You've got like Baton Rouge like an hour away, or so I think it's about an hour away. So
Roughly,
it's tough when you've got those big competing programs that are so, you know, entwined into the culture. So you're competing against teams like that are also close by. It'll be tough for them, but I do think he's right that their numbers will go up here soon. Neil says, "Rack 'em and stack 'em, TJ."
You're damn right, son.
we got to get a show at one point where you wear all three or something. I don't even know if can you fit all three on a hand. Or are they clinking together the whole time?
So I can't. Well, size purposes, there's actually 4 because one's a conference ring, but the 3 national championship rings I can't get on one hand because of like how they're set up and like how bulky they are. Like my fingers are like apart when I have them. So I don't know. But
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad about it. That's for sure.
And Artie says, "I have my Little League trophies as a."
Listen, a trophy is a trophy.
Yeah, they do hand them out these days. I had a lot of trophies that I ended up getting rid of in a move, but I had a lot of little men on stands, if you will. I guess I think most of mine were soccer, but nonetheless, bunch of trophies. I honestly think that's about all we've got. So let's jump real quick to that Power 5 argument let me just scroll back up and put that question back up. I'll even read it again so we can make sure we get this. Honestly, not sure if Mike's still watching with us, but we're going to answer the question anyway. With the lack of parity worse than it's ever been, does the transfer portal help or hurt the group of 5 teams? I see it as a double-edged sword. On one hand, the best players will often jump into the portal and join a Power 5 program, whereas there are also Power 5 players who jump into the portal going back to the group of 5, as well as the FCS transfers too. TJ, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, good, bad, and different, you know?
Yeah, double-edged is the correct term to use in this because you're going to have situations where, you know, if I play I'll just throw arbitrary names out, Clemson or, you know, South Carolina or Carolina or somewhere like that, right? And I'm not getting any playing time. Well, Appalachian State's right down the road. JMU's right up the street. You know, like I could go there and I know I could play. So it helps us, right? It helps schools like that in that regard. But then you get a guy like, you know, somebody who absolutely just balls out and dominates. Like, let's take a Rasheen Ali, for example. You know, could easily play at the P5 level, right? And so it could certainly hurt in that regard. So it can go both ways. I'm for players being able to transfer. We just need to limit the amount of times that it can happen. I don't need to see a guy playing for 3 and 4 different teams. I just don't. That's not something I want to see. 2 times maximum. The second, I think I said this last week. The second time needs to have a justification. First time you can do whatever the hell you want. Second time, I need to have a justification. Coaches left, family issues, need to be closer to home. Those that kind of stuff, I can get. But just to leave just because I'm not playing, no, my guy, you guys stick this out. So
yeah, I think I heard a guy talking on Sirius XM yesterday, and he explained it in a way I hadn't really heard before. It makes perfect sense. It's not anything mind blowing here, but what we have now is essential free agency in college football.
Yeah.
And what you have is something that's not regulated, though. So in the NFL, you have free agency. You know who's going where. You know how much they got to make that happen. It makes perfect sense. There's also a cap that they have to stay under. So there's juggling. You have to sometimes let some players go in order to stay under, or you have to get a guy with a bigger contract to make sure you're at the cap, floor. Or there's things with this cap system that's involved that would help regulate it at the college level. But instead, what you have at the college level is a bunch of deals being done behind closed doors, having no idea how much these kids are making, which I think I don't hate the fact that, like, I personally don't know, but I feel like there still should be some kind of checks and balances system to make sure that, there's not some team out there who's offering every kid $100,000 and just to buy an essential attempt at a championship. And we know that, a team like Texas A&M who's tried to essentially do that, it doesn't necessarily just translate to winning. So that's a good thing, Right. But
I think too, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
To that end, so there's levels, right? Like, we talk about teams buying players. Well, that part is illegal, and that is illegal and has been forever. But that's a part of the game that we know when is the thing that I think where this gets a little bit convoluted, where we talk about free agency with players. The difference is, and the reason there's no regulation on it, because we can't regulate Kellogg's, we can't regulate AT&T, we can't regulate Boost Mobile or whoever the hell these entities are that are offering these kids money, right?
Right.
So to say that there should be some sort of regulation or check and balance is basically saying that the NCAA should then have the power to manipulate or dictate what kind of contracts these companies can then, negotiate with these players. And that's giving them way more authority than they need. They barely can manage the people that they have under their umbrella now. So the last thing we need to do is have them, overseeing what AT&T is allowed to do with Shedeur Sanders. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and I'll probably phrased that wrong. So I understand your point. And I actually agree with that point, because I agree. If somebody wants to give Shedeur Sanders $2 million because they want him to push their phones, more power to him. That's great. Right. I guess what I'm talking about more is the collective stuff, which is essentially an ownership group at the college level, right? It's just pulling money together and telling these schools, you can go pay for whoever you pay is probably the wrong word. I mean, that's essentially what's happening, but you can offer, this much to obtain, Caleb Williams from USC or something. You can essentially buy a player,
right? Because
you've got essentially an ownership group who is faceless and nameless for the most part. I don't like that. That feels dirty to me, right? Like you said, with NILs, to different situation, because that's a company that's not working for the school, right. At least directly. They may have some involvement in the back because somebody graduated from there, whatever. Those things happen, but the collective thing just feels kind of wrong. And if someone disagrees with that, you can let me know why. But that's where I just lose, like that's losing the college feel of it, and that's becoming more of the NFL style with like paying for a team type of thing. Yeah. But the other point that this guy made, and we'll get back to y'all's questions and comments here in just a second, is the expense of what we used to know and grew up with college football, which was like traditional teams, traditional powers always being there at the top, the same spot every year, is now going away. And the sacrifice we're making to have like a 12-team playoff and all this parity is that you get what you want with a 12-team playoff for a lot of people, right? Even some of the people that wanted the 4-team, Florida State gets left out this year. Now they're saying, well, no, we want the 12 now, right? So you're getting what you want in the 12-team playoff, but at the expense of that is all of this player movement, all of this, like, what traditionally took 2 or 3 years to turn a program around with a new coach and a new staff. It's a lot faster now, and it can be great. But at the same time now, you might also see, 8 different teams in a playoff from one year to the next. And, it's 12 teams now. You're seeing 7 or 8. I mean, to me, I love that. I think that's good. And so that is an expense that I am okay with seeing happen because let's be honest, how interested were you with Clemson and Alabama in like 2 out of 3 national championships? And I think one of those 2 teams was in a third straight one at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it because I'm a football purist, but at the same time, it's like, can we see somebody else? But that also goes to if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And I don't think, to be quite honest, while I do absolutely love that there's going to be a 12-team playoff, I don't think the bottom 5 teams are going to matter. Because in college, you just are who you are. Like, this isn't the NFL where any team can beat anybody at any point. Like, in college, you are who you are. Like, there's absolutely no way that without Florida State's quarterback that they even stand a chance against Georgia. It's just not. They don't even deserve to be top 10 without their starting quarterback. They barely beat a numbers. I think it was 11th or 17th ranked Louisville. And we know Louisville can't hold a candle to any of the top 10 teams. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I struggle with it because you are who you are in college football. Like, this isn't the NFL where, like, you were the best of the best. Like, you were, you know, you put Geno Smith right now in college football, he's going to throw for 1,000,000 yards.
Right.
But in the NFL, he's like maybe 15th best quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, in college football, you just are who you are. And so I just don't, I'm not to beat a dead horse. I just don't, while I am excited about a 12-team playoff, I love that idea because I do think one team every year is going to get lucky. Somebody's going to get lucky and advance to the next round, and something's going to happen. I just don't, the bottom 6 teams are just going to be like, we're just here.
Yeah. But finally, some of those teams will say, I have a seat at the table. And that's all we've really been asking for.
And again, and that's the thing. We're happy to be there. We made the playoffs. Great. Good for you.
I want to ask you this because I haven't seen anything definitive on this. Maybe I just haven't really looked. But, like, can we get rid of some of these bowl games when we go to this 12-team playoff? Because, like, I don't really want to see
I don't think we will. There's too much money involved. I don't think we will. I think the bowl games are going to stay. And just like they do now in the playoffs, it's still whatever Rose Bowl, what Tostitos, whatever bowl, Fiesta Bowl. I don't know, whatever bowl does what. But they're going to still have the bowl names. It's just going to be a round of the playoffs, which, whatever. I'm fine. I don't give a shit. Whatever. I don't care. I'm fine with however you want to do it.
Right.
I just am a proponent of letting the kids, like, let's go, let's play. Let's let them play. Because in this scenario, Liberty would have gotten in this year at 12. You see what I'm saying? And I think they would have gotten demolished by the number 4 team overall, but which in this case would have been Alabama. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they would have gotten destroyed. Yeah. It wouldn't have been close. But
I think they'll get destroyed by Oregon.
Probably. So, but anyway, so there's that. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But hopefully we'll have a Sunbelt team in the 12th team next year. Speaking of playoffs, we had the what never actually happened in the 2020 conference championship that could have been with the COVID Carolina Chickens versus number 17 Louisiana Raging. Yeah, a ranked matchup in a conference championship, and one of the teams was inside the top 10. That may never happen again before the Sunbelt because unfortunately COVID wrecked that, and Cajun fans will never let Coastal fans live that down. By the way, after going there and visiting the year after that happened, they can't stand Coastal Carolina down there.
Imagine not.
Yeah. Neil says, doesn't it still make us look like AAA baseball? I guess he's talking about some of these were from earlier, so it's probably when we're talking about some of the attendance and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Artie's talking about, you know what really helps fully equipped trans Camaros? I don't know. We missed some of these at the time that they came in, so now I'm trying to catch up and make some of this make some sense. Neil's bringing up a good point. Out west, with the gas and oil business, they will always be able to choke the rest out. Billionaires push millionaires out. I mean, you're seeing that kind of stuff with specifically Texas A&M, really, who's got a lot of that oil money that we talked about. And I think for the first time, we've got Chad Mitchell. I know TJ knows Chad as well.
Oh, yeah.
Was he taking pictures when you played too, TJ?
Oh, yeah. Chad's been there a while.
Okay. I figured he was. I figured that's how you knew him, but I actually ran into Chad when I was on the field. Homecoming against Southern Miss.
I make it my business to find Chad when I'm on the field.
He's a good dude. If you're a Mountaineer fan, he also does a little side business where he's making cornhole boards. I've got I used to be on the background on some of the videos I put out on social media. I still have it hanging up. Just don't do videos in that section of the house anymore. But it's right over here above the TV. It's a nice App State wooden, I guess plaque maybe is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Painted black, but it's got the App State logo or, lettering and word in it. He does a phenomenal job with that stuff. So if you are an App State fan, definitely look up Mountaineer Works. I think it's on a few different social. Mountaineer Works is what he does on the side there as well. Some really, really good photography. The cool part was when we ran into him on the sideline, he literally just took his camera out and said, yeah, check out this shot I just got of this touchdown. It was pretty sweet stuff. So, yeah, awesome dude. Neil saying you can rebuild now in 2 years, maybe not one. Yeah, I mean, it looked like Colorado was going to rebuild in one for a second.
It looked like it. And they've still – and listen, year 2 might even be better based on the recruiting and the portal.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to this last one here by Yobi Cars. Who do you think is the best diamond sports program in the Sun Belt? Well, TJ, I don't know how
JMU at this point, right?
Do what?
JMU at this point, right?
No, not in the baseball realm. You're going to be looking at this guy's favorite team, the Cajuns, or you're going to be looking at right now. I'd put Southern Miss still above them, but the Cajuns are always dangerous. Texas State, if Artie's still watching, very good team from last year as well. I think that's probably, gosh, if I had my baseball stuff in front of me, off the top of my head, I can't think of all of them right now, but App State's getting closer there. They're inching up. Trying to think that ODU was crazy last year because they were great outside the conference, and when they got to conference play, they couldn't keep winning up. Artie is still watching. He says, Texas State, welcome to Slam Marcos. Not San Marcos. I like that nickname. They should put that on a hat or a T-shirt. I'd definitely get one of those.
Nice.
But that Texas State, I mean, look, everything's better in Texas, right? Their baseball is definitely one of the things that's better down there in Texas. But again, they're going head-to-head with the Cajuns and the Golden Eagles down there at Southern Miss. Southern Miss has something called Pete Taylor Park. And TJ, I'm pretty sure they had sold out their entire allotment of season tickets for baseball.
Wow.
Baseball.
Wow.
And that place
That's insane.
Yeah, that place gets crazy. They're nuts for their baseball down there. Again, last year was the first year I followed baseball so closely. This conference loves baseball. Absolutely loves it. So Marshall just got a brand new facility for this year, so they'll be a little bit more exciting because they were playing like away from home, like 40 minutes or 30 minutes down the road. So their attendance struggled and their team struggled mightily, probably in large part to a lot of that. But they should definitely be back and a little bit better this year. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the top, but they should be better. He says Cajuns, Texas State, and I guess Georgia Southern there, because I don't think he's talking Georgia State. Georgia Southern was down a little bit last year, but the previous year, I think they made regionals for baseball, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, just a lot of talent in the baseball sports. We'll be doing a show for that, too. We'll also be doing a basketball show on Friday. I'm not sure if TJ will jump in there at all or not. But if not, we'll do solo.
Friday depends. I got some running around I got to do Friday, but we'll see.
All good. There's no commitment on TJ's part for the basketball show yet, but I guarantee he's going to have more interest come March Madness.
Oh, for sure.
We're gonna get somebody in there. Obviously, we might just be a one bid league. We'll find out, but definitely, if you're interested in some of the basketball coverage, Friday right here, same bat place, same bat channel, all that good stuff. 8:30 Eastern for your Friday night. And he's saying one last thing. He hopes the Cajuns make it to the College World Series. That'll be a tough ask, but hey, you never know, right? Coastal's won one, and so there's another team I hadn't mentioned, Coastal Carolina. Obviously very good in baseball every year. So, TJ, we were brought to you by the Dogs Media Network. Go check out some bowl articles coming out here in the next day or two for this weekend's matchups at collegefootballdogs.com. TJ, where can the people follow you and what's going on in your life?
I am on Basically all platforms. I guess you can count Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. However, I don't ever get on there. But Facebook at TJ Corman, Instagram, 2 pages, Mr. Corman 12, and also Thick Thighs and Large Fries if you're looking for some good recipes, barbecue. I don't post all of my recipes for obvious reasons, but if you're ever interested in anything I cook, DM me, let me know. I can certainly send you over some recipes. And also, like I said, if you're in the area, want some good food, I know I'm doing some Christmas catering for a few families here in the Wake Forest area. So if ever you're looking for something good to eat and don't feel like cooking, give me a couple days heads up and I can get you taken care of.
Nice. Love it. Yobi's saying thanks for the coverage. Hey, thanks for coming on and commenting all night. We love it. We love the interaction. That's why we do the live show, because it's a whole lot more fun when we got people that care and keep us rolling along. And Artie's reminding us, eat 'em up, cats, cook rice. Yeah, we do hope you cook rice. We didn't go through all the bowl games because we've got the old stuff where we went through all that stuff. But we do wish the best of luck to all the teams playing this weekend, as I think almost all games are on Saturday, and I think the Texas State Rice game is Tuesday, a Tuesday game. So
yeah, that's the only one that is. Tuesday 26th at 5:30. It's at 5:30, so we'll be home to watch it. Well, I'll be home.
I really want to do a live stream during the game, but we'll see if we can make that happen. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, I won't be here. I'll be.
I was going to say, yeah. I don't think maybe next year we'll do a live stream for a bowl game and just have everybody on jumping in and out. Like that'd be kind of fun. We'll see what we can get going. But Artie Cats thanking us for another great show. TJ and Jerry Moore with Hands of Rings. Love it. Yeah. Cook rice, eat gumbo. Gotta love it. Yeah. See, TJ, we got to get you down south and get you some gumbo, man. That stuff down there is phenomenal. All right, guys. Thank you for listening and following along. I'll be back Friday for sure, and TJ and I will be back shortly. We're going to figure out the schedule stuff because I know he's got some stuff going on the holidays, so we're going to see when we'll come back, but we'll definitely be wrapping up all the bowl action for the Sun Belt after this weekend sometime next week for y'all. Thanks for watching, listening. See y'all next time.